Well, tonight it's not just about who and where you're going to finish on the track. It's about who you're beating outside of that as well. It's a bit of bragging rights, not only for yourself and getting the victory, but also for your country. It is Finland versus Sweden as we go stock car racing. It's myself, Cameron Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me, and Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast as we try and find out who is the best country between Finland and Sweden. Of course, it's the two big leagues of Trellit and the Svenska Eracingligan, and they've submitted their best 20 drivers to have a competition out on track in these Xfinity cars to see what is going to happen. Here's the list of drivers. I'm sure you'll recognize them if you follow the leagues along. Of course, here on RaceSpotTV, we had the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan just finished a couple of weeks ago, and we have Michael Hafnison there towards the bottom, of course, coming in strong after a very strong playoffs, getting that championship, and of course plenty of other drivers that you'll recognize along the way. It is going to be a lot of fun to try and see this because of course these drivers end up being teammates and they have their rivals in their own championships, but today they are racing against each other for their country, and it'll basically be simply who finishes higher overall and where the points go towards that in the normal point system. 45 to win, then 40 and so on, down 1 point per position towards the back of the field. And Ewan, I think this should be a lot of fun, especially considering the car track combination that we have today with the old version of Atlanta.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of fun. It's not just about ice hockey, where Finland and Sweden are playing later today as well, but for some bizarre reason. The coincidences have meant that we're putting the two countries up against one another here as well. So really looking forward to this one. It is going to be a little bit different to usual because you will be looking out for your teammates in that respect, looking out for your fellow countrymen and women, and so that's going to be something to look out for. But as you say, it's a little bit of a different challenge to even what we normally see at Atlanta these days, to be honest, because nowadays you get the sort of super speedway type racing at this circuit, which I personally don't enjoy very much, to be honest with you. We've got the 2008 layout here. It's a lot bumpier. It's a lot more lifting off, balancing on the throttle. It's a lot more about staying down low and seeing if you can paint the white line on the entrance to the apron there, if you like, on the left-hand side. It's such a different challenge for these Xfinity cars compared to what we see in the modern day.
Yeah, certainly going to be a tough one indeed. As you see there, we're just past midday, simulating the 23rd of May, real time in the simulation as well. What do we have for us today? Well, we have 134 laps of action. We have 100% fuel tank, which is looking to last around 60 laps or so. But the important point as well is that we only have those 4 sets of tyres, and we're told that the drop-off is between 2.5 and 3.5 seconds over the course of a stint. So if a caution comes out at certain times, people might be wanting to do those fresher tyres, but if we have loads of cautions, you've only got those 4 sets of tyres to use. And of course we have a couple of green, white, checkered attempts at the end should we have time within the 2-hour time limit for this race. And Ewan, with that tyre drop-off being so severe, I mean, other tracks in the recent weeks in the Svenska Eracingligan, we've seen maybe 1.5 seconds, but to go past 2.5 seconds means that the tyres are going to be a big talking point over the stint.
They really are, and this was one of the key facts of Atlanta when we did have this layout, that the bumps really do shred the tyres to pieces, to be honest. So if it goes green early, I would expect to see them sort of try and divide it into thirds, because those 4 tyre sets include the tyre set that you have to start the race on. So you've only got 3 sets to then go to in the race. Now, that means that you can split the race into thirds, or maybe even quarters if you really want to, I suppose. But we're certainly going to see the first 40 laps or so, certainly first 35 laps go by without any pit stops. By the time we get to there, how far off are the tyres going to have fallen? Are we going to already see tyre changes at that stage? I feel like we may well do, because any driver that comes in will see an immediate gain, and as soon as one driver does it, you'll see it immediately other drivers sort of having to respond, because otherwise they'll be left behind.
Oh, absolutely. And even if we go to what we're saying with the fuel going to about lap 60, times that by 2, that's 120, you're still going to have to do a splash at the end. So we're probably going to use 3 sets of tyres anyway. And as you say, there's just that one more joker almost, you could say, that you've got to play at some point in the race. But you never know when cautions are going to come out and where may be best to start putting on those fresher tyres, as you always want to be, of course, getting yourself in a good position to be fast in the final 20 laps or so of this race. You don't want to be the one out there on older tyres, because you might get the track position as the 42 goes up into the wall. Might have the track position, but you'll just be absolutely gobbled up with drivers coming behind you on fresher tyres, and they'll have the advantage coming into those final few laps. Of course, we are in the final few moments of practice. And Ewan, just how important do you reckon these practice laps are? How serious do you think these guys are taking it? I would expect pretty seriously.
Absolutely, it is a bit of fun at the end of the day, but they're all going to want to contribute in the best way they possibly can, and I think the best way towards doing that will be winning the race, because the gaps between positions are just 1 point per position for the most part through the field, but winning the race does give you those extra few points, 5 points between first and second, so that's an immediate step forward for you and your teammates. That's going to be really important to get. I think everyone will be going for this, but at the end of the day, it is a little bit of fun, and hopefully everybody does indeed achieve that at the very least. What I'm seeing in this practice session at the moment, by the way, is people running a lot higher than I was expecting. There's not really, see, even that line right up towards the wall is even coming into play, so that's a bit of a surprise to me, to be honest with you, but it's good to see, actually, because we don't want to see sort of the inside line prevailing and making it very, very difficult for anyone to overtake around the outside. That wouldn't be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, definitely. The tracks where it's easy to hold it down the inside, very difficult for the overtaking, but let's see how that tyre wear works out. And in this practice session, we're looking very strong, I can tell you, for the Finnish team. They've got 4 drivers up there inside the top 5, looking very good, but of course it's going to be the points lower down actually that are going to be the important ones, I think. You did say there's that obviously 5-point gap between first and second, but obviously the drivers lower down are ultimately going to be the ones to dictate the overall result. And Finland are looking stronger. I said 4 inside the top 5. It's actually 8 inside the top 10 as well. Yeah,
exactly. It's a really strong start for Finland in practice. But as we were told before coming to air here, some of those times were set before lots of drivers were out there on the circuit. And ever since that's happened, it's become a little bit more difficult to see those times really coming down. So I wonder what we're going to see in qualifying, because that's going to be a whole different prospect. These guys have had ages in practice to get under. I think they've had an hour and a half in practice to get up to speed, and they're not going to have that long in qualifying whatsoever. It's going to be a much shorter qualifying session, where everybody is going to need to get their lap time in first time round. As you say, it is about points all the way down, not just that top 10, because there's only 1 point between all of the positions apart from first and second, and I think that's going to make the early point in the race very interesting, as everybody tries to survive, and I think everybody needs to survive. Those bottom 4 drivers in the field, after all, won't score any points at all.
Yeah,
score
definitely.
1, but yeah, difference.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be tough down the back, I can tell you that. I'm sure the tensions will be somewhat high coming into the first couple laps when everyone is close together. The positions will want to be made up by those drivers, but they of course have a couple of laps here in qualifying to try and set the grid as practice comes to an end, and Finland versus Sweden will get underway, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's to clarify, the winner for each team is basically the points total at the end of the race, so for each position. So the more drivers you get up towards the front, the better. So it's not just about winning the race, it is about your overall driver positions as well. As we go out for the 5-minute session, and let's see who's going to be putting their first times on the board. And it was Jesper Räisänen who was leading the way in practice, but then there was Dan Solo and Gunnarsson for Sweden in behind, and they got to replicate those laps now as they count for real.
Yeah, and it's, as I said earlier, not anywhere near as much time to get yourself going. So you're going to see these out laps where you're running right high next to the wall. Then we'll see the car sweep off the banking down low using gravity and the slope down towards the quad oval at the start of the circuit. And now they'll get into the lap or proper. Jarvalainen here still choosing the high line. It will be a couple of laps, so they'll maybe just use this first lap to set themselves up for the second and continue to build up speed on the outside.
Yeah, definitely it's a bit of momentum game going straight into it after only one outlap, effectively from the from the pit lane. May not be the fastest one, but let's see, of course, what they do as the laps will come in. So drivers will leave it a little bit later as we have Jarvalainen coming across the line to set a 31.4, and the times are going to be coming in thick and fast as the drivers work their way around. We got Fredriksson there getting already up towards the front. He's done a 0.3 now. Eskilsson has done a 0.29 as well as they all work their way through to do their laps.
Daniel Solo working up high here through 3 and 4, and then down onto the low side to go over the line. Jesper Eriksson sets a new fastest time as they come in very thick and fast now. Daniel Solo seemingly not putting in a time first time round. Jarvalainen has, though, another one, and he goes first.
Yeah, definitely looking to go a bit faster on that second lap. Fredriksson went faster as well. He jumped up into 4th place. Eskalainen improves, just 12 thousandths of a second behind in that second place. So definitely the second lap is coming in hot here for these drivers. Gunnarsson gets up into 3rd. Then Korpi just eclipses him to go into 3rd place. Eriksson in as well. Lundqvist all coming in fast. Look how close the times are. Just 1/10 for the top 10.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic to see, and good news for the race, really, that it is so close inside that top 10. It should mean that the field stays pretty close through the opening parts of the race as well, which will be exciting to watch. Eric Blicht makes it even closer indeed, with 11 covered by just 1/10 of a second, but only 3 Swedes involved in that, which may be the concern.
Yeah, definitely for the Swedish team. They're going to be just not wanting that too much. And there's a bit of a gap, actually, between 7th and 8th there. Vicky about 0.5 off Gunnarsson. That might be slightly concerning. So the top 7 looking very fast as it's 3 for 4 inside that top 7. We go out now with the 46 car. Robert Teuker in his machine as he works his way around as Blix goes up to the top by 0.5. Big improvement there on that second lap.
Yeah, very big improvement indeed. And as I said earlier, 5 points between first and second. Winning this race is very, very crucial indeed, in my mind, if you want to see your country out on top. So that's a good start for Blitz. And to have 0.5 as well is pretty impressive, considering the closeness of everybody else.
Oh, definitely. And I guess that just shows you that every fine margin counts in this form of racing. And when we're seeing the different lines and everything that's being taken over the track, if you can just find that one that's ever so slightly better, can carry more speed, and then that's going to be what you want to do. As Teuker there had a very tight line, interestingly, at least through 1 and 2. As we come around the final couple of corners, he keeps it a bit higher to work his way up to his next lap, which seemingly is the faster one. Not too many drivers still out there on the lap. Most of them actually done it half this, and then the 81 goes up into 8th place to make it 4v4 inside your top 8. The Teuker comes around the first couple of corners and just wiggling a little bit there on the rear with a couple more to go. Yeah,
going to need an improvement here for Finnish team, although it is a good start for Finland, I would say. It's 7 Swedish drivers in the top 20, 13 Finnish drivers, and see if Teuker can make it 14 maybe, squeezing in. It's a 4/10 improvement. That's pretty impressive considering the field that we're in, and he goes right to the top.
Oh, he certainly does, and that is a nice jump there to 3rd place as he's 74 thousandths, but actually coming into 2nd place as well as Leskala just 4 thousandths of a second behind his Finnish teammate. That pushes Blix down into 3rd place as Finland come out swinging with just a few seconds to go, and it looks like Teuker there, one of the final drivers to set a time along with Leskala, are going to put it out on the front row.
Yeah, fantastic time, and a great start for Finland as they take the first front row.
Let's run you through the drivers. For Finland versus Sweden, it's Teuker and Leskala on that front row with Blixt and Jarvalainen in your 2nd row. Eskalainen and Lindqvist are in your 3rd as we work our way through. Jesper Eriksson, their strong season in the Svenska iRacing. Let's see what he can do from 7th place. Corby is in 8th, and then Gunnarsson and Haflidason are on your 5th row. Vicky and Eptapata are in your top 6 rows. Pustin and Hugner are inside your top 7 rows with Katila, Solo, Aroldsson, Bohlin and Nukrainen are inside your top 9 rows. Turo is in 19th place with Fredriksson 20th, Salander Raisinen down in 22nd after being top in practice. Then Pavarainen is in 23rd and Lundberg in 24th place. And we do have a pretty big field of drivers. Raisinen in 25th place, Numela in 26th, Ullman, Salmon, Holmbaum and Holmer inside your top 10 rows. And just 3/10 off, so time's very, very close indeed. Uvenen, Eriksson, Hökkönen, Hellbro, Kokkola and Fagerl inside your top 36. And then the final drivers are Kennetir, Johansson, Skoglund and Broström. So all Swedish drivers there at the back of the field as well. They're going to have to do some work because and I'm pretty sure those drivers lower down are going to be ultimately the ones who set the final scores, of course, as we see Toika, your pole position driver, getting ready to lead the field.
Yeah, it's the best possible start for Timo Toika by getting onto that front row and leading the field around for Finland. Made a very good start to this. As you mentioned, far more, well, not far more important, but slightly important, as well as winning the race, I believe anyway, is staying out of that bottom 5. As I mentioned earlier on, places at 36 down to last, which is 40th, will all score just the 1 point, because everyone gets points in NASCAR for whatever reason, and that means that they're going to lose a lot of ground, all those guys down there, and unfortunately the drivers in that bottom 5 are all Swedish for the moment. So that's why I mentioned earlier on, it's so crucial to just stay clean for the opening parts of the race. Make sure that you don't finish down there because of a crash or whatever, but also you're going to have to do a lot more than just stay out of trouble to stay out of that bottom 5. You're going to have to race well as well.
Yeah, you are. And with the expected tyre drop-off, as you were mentioning earlier, somewhere in the region of 3 seconds over the course of a full 60-lap stint. That is quite a big number. And that tyre drop-off is going to be fairly fast as well. Already by the time we get to lap 15 or so, you're going to be seeing the times drop down. So if we do get caution sort of halfway through into that first stint, expect people already to be coming down pit road. You don't want to be stuck out the front on old tyres as you work our way around this older version of Atlanta for Finland versus Sweden. It's Timo Toika and Leskala on the front row, the 46 and the 44 machine for Finland, trying to lead their way through. And there's certainly plenty of Finnish drivers up towards the front there, looking very strong. As a reminder, it's the overall points between each of the countries and their finishing position as to be where the winner will be, not just on the track. But the pace car comes in, the green flag comes out, and Timo Toika in the 46 machine will get Finland versus Sweden underway. We've already got contact in the background as a couple of drivers into the wall. We remain green flag racing as they get underway side by side in towards turn 1 and 2.
Not sure who that was in the background, but I'm afraid to say it's not a very good start for those in the very back of the field. Thankfully at the front though, we get roughly single file, at least for the leader. Timo Toika converts pole position into an early lead.
I think it was Johansson and Eriksson. At least it was Eriksson, the one in the wall, the 35 machine for Sweden. And he's evacuated the scene as we come through the drive-through section for the first time through the restart zone and across the stripe to go on to lap 2 of 1:34 here. It's Finland 1-2-3 as it stands. Eric Blix there trying to get up the inside, but I think he might just lose out with that high line working very nicely there for Eskalainen as they go side by side in towards turns 3 and 4. It's the 95 on that inside machine trying to work his way, have obviously the shorter line, but then is the momentum going to be good for the 72 on the exit?
Looks like it. It's pretty even actually as they go over the line. Eskalainen is just about going to make it ahead at the line, and so well, it doesn't really matter for much, but it's just worth noting. Maybe when we get to the final laps, people will start to work that out. Where do I need to be in terms of a side-by-side battle if I'm going to just edge ahead of my driver alongside as we go to the line? That's a long way off, though. And for the moment, Finland have made a good start. Eskalainen clears Eric Blicht, and they're into the top 4 now, Finland.
And remember, we do have live stewards, one from each of the championships. So we've got Linus Broström and Tapini Lina Luto from Finland, as well as they go side by side in towards 1 and 3. But if there are any contacts, of course, there might be some penalties coming the way. So the drivers do need to keep it somewhat clean with the live stewards looking out there. But Finland are holding strong with that 1, 2, 3, as of course they're denoted by the blue names and yellow for the Swedish. And they're already the 84. So that was Tony Uvenen actually. So he spun up the rears and then just sent Robert Eriksson into the wall.
Yep, straight into someone driving for the same country as you. Not a great start, I'm afraid, at all for Uvenen. That's putting him down to 37th now, by the way. He's recovered pretty decently, actually. But Robert Eriksson, unfortunately, is a long way off and is actually already halfway around to getting lapped here, if he's not too careful. Meanwhile, the bottom 8, in fact, are all covered by Sweden, unfortunately. Not a good start down the back for them, but it is a long race. Over 200 miles, 206 and a bit, to be specific. And there's plenty of time remaining to make up some of those places lost.
Oh, definitely. A lot of laps around here. But with the obviously the 100% fuel that we've got going about 60 laps or so, you are going to have to be patient in these stints as well. And that is what I like, actually, when we get the tyre wear coming. It's not just these 20 lap dashes. You have to actually think about it. If we stay green, you're going to have to stay out on the track. And you're going to have to keep going on those old tyres. So those who look after them a little bit as we go 3 wide momentarily, there's Eric Blix all the way around the outside, this 72. Escalade, they've dropped down a couple of positions in their battle, but the 95 has finally got to the outside line and should make up a couple of places as he gets Corpy across the line and then just cuts down the inside of turn 1 as he tries to make that 3 positions.
He's not quite going to manage it all in one go, I don't think. Joni Hagner at the Glacier Racing Drive, I'm not sure if he still is. But there you go. He's 5th for the moment, and he's really coming under threat from Licht here. Side by side for 3rd as well, as Jesper Eriksson, flying the flag for Sweden, is down the inside at 3 and 4, painting that white line on the low side. There, by the way, are the current standings. Sweden have a long way to go and a lot more positions to make up if they're going to make up that advantage. Currently standing at 200 points.
Wow, that... I never thought I was going to be seeing a gap between the two that big, but certainly Finland are having a strong start here as we are on lap 8, as that live point standings will update, as we will keep you updated with that throughout the race. Finland looking very strong. Look at the moving around of the cars as we come through 3 and 4 there. Definitely have to be careful to not do that too much over the course of the stint, but it's very easy as we go side by side down the inside. It's going to be there in towards turn 1, trying to find a position on the track. It does look like, though, the lower line is a little bit more favourable in this race conditions, maybe just for a bit of defensive manoeuvres to the front. Leskala has got Toika as the 444 goes up to the lead.
Yep, Jukka Leskala goes to the front, using a slightly higher line through 3 and 4 to consolidate the place, and so an exchange of the lead, although it doesn't matter too much. What they didn't want to do was just hold each other up and let Jesper Eriksson get a free pass. Well, they've certainly managed to avoid that from happening, although Eriksson is looking strong at this stage in the race in any case, and it looks like he might be challenging for second anyway.
Yeah, I think he does have a little bit of a run there, not enough to dive it down the inside, but look at all the different lines being used there. Leskala keeping it high, Toika going low down, as was previously mentioned. I think that is a little bit more of the defensive line, of course, to try and cover that inside line. But Eriksson needs to try and build up a little bit of momentum, try and find a way to get the run up the inside there. It is sort of the midline for quite a few drivers as well. As Escalainen and the 72 dropping down further, he goes down into 10th place as Etupalta is getting past him for 9th.
By the way, don't be discouraged by the gap at the top right of your screen at the moment, by the way, currently changing more quickly than I can even say it or get a handle on what the gap is. But remember, every position change when one driver from one country overtakes the one from another, that's a 2-point gain. So what we're going to see tonight is, first of all, I think, an odd gap between them. But second of all, we are going to see the gap will come down and extend quicker than you realise, because not only are say for example Sweden gaining a point here, but Finland would lose one, and so the gap does sort of come down or extend doubly fast compared to what you'd expect.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you win and lose at the same time. It's not just adding to your total. And the issue is for Sweden. Look at there on the left-hand side, all the yellow names at the bottom, and they are obviously losing out plenty of points to the Finnish drivers as it stands. But I think even if you lose overall, you're still going to be wanting to win the race for your country, indeed. Unfortunately, with the way that they've done the pace schemes, actually, it's quite easy to see which ones are the Finnish, and obviously they're the more white ones. We've got the Aurora on the back as well. That we've been having in the skies over the last couple of weeks. Very nice indeed. As we're on to lap 14 now. We're coming on to here at Atlanta. So first 10th of the race done. No stage here as well. We go racing. It is all about getting your car to the end of the race the fastest. As there's Gunnarsson in that 33 machine, spending multiple corners trying to get up the inside there of Nuukarainen in the 830 machine. He's been there for a long time as he still goes into turn 3.
Going to be interested to see when the first pit stops come here today, by the way, as we've already talked about. If you want to put on or use your 4 sets of tyres evenly throughout the race, then you'll have to pit first time round on lap 35. You see, we're not even halfway to that point at the moment, and we're about a second away from our best lap times in the field. Here goes Jesper Eriksson for second place on Timo Toika. Eriksson last time round was 7/10 slower than his best lap time. Timo Toika over a second. So that's the kind of drop-off we're already seeing.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, that's between half a tenth and a tenth a lap. The tyres are dropping off. And they only do 4 corners, 4 turns every lap. It's pretty insane. In just 1.5 miles that you can get that drop off, but that is just how much load, how difficult it is to get these cars going around these corners, especially with the bumpy and the older nature of this track. Obviously pre-update, as in the background, I think as a Pustinen maybe making a move for P7. So still looking very blue up towards the front of the field, but we do have a couple of the Swedish drivers, Eriksson and Blix, there trying to chase them down.
And Haflidson's actually making the most progress out of all of them. Eriksson's getting to the stage now where there aren't actually that many places for him to gain now, because he's in second position and he's got even a bit of catching to do on Juha Leskala, who is out front. But Michael Flitterson's made some good progress. He's side by side with Mikko Javalainen at the moment. There's Timo Toika looking at him in the bottom right as he tries to look at Eriksson. Even if he doesn't pass here, just distracts the 28 car enough to prevent him from catching the 444.
Yeah, definitely. It's a bit of team play can help you. As Eriksson was just drifting up a little bit wider there to try and use a little bit more road straight in the car compared to the 46, but the 46 is definitely in a position to put quite a bit of pressure. And to say the truth, Eriksson did struggle quite a bit in the playoffs of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan over the past couple of months. In the regular season, he was a champion by a long way. Then the playoffs come out and the important races came, and a few mistakes did come out. So let's see if that trend continues over the course of the next 100-odd laps. But it's still Leskala leading the way in the 444 machine by about a second now as we come across the line. Let's have a look at the pace, and it was almost identical between the top 2.
Jesper Eriksson, by the way, despite not getting that title in the end, did score the most points out of anybody in the series, so that's worth noting as a thing, as he performed well throughout the season. But yes, really defending from Timo Toika. Here's a look a bit further back in the field at Eetu Eskalainen, currently running in 11th place in the overall standings. And just looking up ahead as Michael Philipson's making another move down the inside at turn 1. Eskalainen himself looking for a way back into the top 10. There's the side-by-side.
But the high line looks so strong as you get out onto the straightaways. There's a little bit of a gap forming behind them, actually. That's between 9th and 10th place. So the 81 is working his way up fairly nicely. Just needs to do them one by one. And the biggest strength he had in the previous weeks is these long runs, these long stints. As we're seeing some moves being made. Blix going to the outside line there, trying to get up into 4th place. Looks like he's got it for now. He's got the high line as well. That should be good. Coming out onto the back straightaway. And they might be starting to have a look down the inside of the 46. Maybe not enough momentum this time around. But he's certainly coming as caution comes out. Lap 21. And the pace truck will be out onto the track. Everyone will slow down. And when we get to the pit lane opening, will there be some drivers going down pit road already?
There may well be, because by the time we go back racing again, there'll be 110 laps remaining. The fuel load will take you that long. We are in that window now. And I think any caution inside the first 15 laps and you wouldn't come in, because that wouldn't give you the fuel to make it to the end on just one more stop, which is what you'd need to do. But I think, yeah, they're going to see stops this time round with the amount of time that we've got remaining in the race. As we go and have a look now as to what happened, it's Andre Solander who's been hit there by the 86, and who was that? Marco Numela, the one who hit him, and then all sorts of chaos behind.
Yes, indeed. I think it was 10 of Cedric Holmbaum. Yeah, he was the third car to get involved. Solander, unfortunately, he's already lapped down. We've got loads of drivers coming down pit road, as you would expect. But with there only being 4 tyres, Ewan, if we get another caution in another 22 laps and then another 22 laps, you can't keep taking new tyres. So we will have to see how that one works out. But of course, it makes sense this time around. And every single driver is going to be coming down pit road. Or is anyone staying out for the funsies? Oscar Fredriksson might have stayed out, actually. Nice. So someone's trying it, but he's going to have a whole bunch of cars on fresh tyres behind.
And we've got 2 tyre stops as well, have we? Or have we just got quick stops? I think it's a race off pit lane, and it's Timo Toika who wins it. We do have a 2 tyre stop from Alexander Aronson in the 24 car to move up the field. 7.2 seconds in the box, screens 2 tyre stop. Now, I don't know if you're any more aware of this, Cam, but what happens to your 4 sets of tyres if you just take 2? Does that mean he's used a whole set there on just his 2 tyres, or has he got 2.5 sets remaining? I don't understand what happens then.
I would assume 4 sets is 16 tyres. I would assume. So, but are they dedicated per left to right? So could he then?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Have another new set of right tyres? That bit I don't know. We'll have to try and ask some advice from Linus maybe on that one. But certainly, what is left is the 12 of Fredriksson. He stayed out. He did not come down pit road. Still out there on the old rubber. Then in behind, we've got Leskala, who's leading the way for so long. He is on 4 tyres. And Aronson in the 24, in that green machine to the left-hand side of shot, he has only taken 2 tyres. Then we look a bit further down. The next person to take 2 tyres is the 79 of Dan Holmer in P17. So fresh tyres for basically everyone else up towards the front, as Uvenen's having to wait for the drivers to go through. And this is what I like, Ewan. Some strategy coming from the Swedes as they try and regain some points which they were losing out massively in that opening few laps.
And they know immediately that they are going to have to gain some of that. We've seen 4 drivers, by the way, go multiple laps down. We've seen Uvenen there getting long repairs, so he's 1 lap down. But 3 out of the 4 drivers who are multiple laps down and are probably only going to score just the 1 point from today's race. 3 Swedes and 1 Finnish driver, unfortunately, for Sweden. So that pretty much resigns 3 of those drivers to just 1 point, giving everybody else who's remaining, the 17 Swedes who are remaining in the race, quite a job to do to make up for those points lost.
Yeah, that's a good point. We have some drivers and their finishing positions are pretty much already known. So big task for the team in yellow as they try to work their way to the front. We're seeing some on the strategy. We've now got 4 Swedes inside the top 5, so that's looking much better. We go side by side once more, so the pace track will be coming in at the end of this lap 25.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know, by the way, what the swing is in points because of that, because while they are 4 in the top 5, it's not particularly spread very well down the field for Sweden, but it just goes to show that strategy can really play a big part in this race. And even if the 200-point gap earlier on was looking really difficult to close down, it can all change in the blink of an eye. Cautions are going to have to be played well throughout this race.
They certainly have. So that is 1 tyre set down. We're on to the second. They only have 2 fresh sets left to get to the end of the race. If cautions are frequent, they're going to have to be very careful with when they use them to not end up with some old tyres coming to the checkered flag in 110 laps time. As we're here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, The older version here with the Xfinity cars for Finland versus Sweden. After the first stint, Finland are looking very strong, but Sweden are coming back with a vengeance for this second stint. They'll be getting underway once more. We've got Leskinen and Fredriksson leading the way on that front row. Not a good start though from the 12 on the old tyres. He couldn't get the throttle down, and it's going to be his teammate Ericsson getting past, but Leskinen is going to take the lead. Toika also on that outside line. We're 4 wide momentarily as Blixt is coming through. The 24 there, also on slightly some older tyres, is dropping back.
Yeah, that is going to be the story of this stint, I'm afraid, for those guys. Hearing, by the way, that those on a shorter stop only took fuel and didn't even take any tyres, which I guess would line up at the moment as both of them are getting fed through the middle. Look at Fredriksson here trying to hold the middle line on his old tyres with cars going either side of him at the moment. It must be such a difficult position to find yourself in as those who took all 4 tyres worked their way through very quickly.
And it's almost a dangerous speed difference that we have when it is that big of a margin. We're seeing margin between teams, between drivers being less than a tenth of a second, and now we'll all of a sudden have maybe 2 seconds a lap, 1.5 seconds a lap. It is a big change as Leskinen and Korpi get P1 and 2, and Ericsson drops down into third with Blixt chasing him along. Then it's a group of Finnish drivers in behind trying to work their way up. There's a Pustinen in the 995 machine. He's been sat there in that P7 for quite a long time, but I definitely think it was worth taking those tyres. And yeah, you're right, Ewan, what we're being told, it was actually 0 tyres being taken, which is even worse. And it begs the question why they stayed out, because they've now just lost all of the track position, and if everyone goes past them, they might even drop off the back of the queue.
Well, I'm not entirely sure it was a terrible idea, because what else are they going to do? You know, how else are you going to get yourself up to the front? They might have seen another caution in pretty short order. They could have held on a bit better, but yeah, I think some of the drivers are going to be pretty discouraged by what they just saw in terms of when this race gets a little bit older, when we go a little bit later into the race, we're all going to want to keep a set of tyres back, because if there's a caution in the last 20 laps or so, even the last 10 laps, you absolutely need tyres. You're never going to hang on.
Oh, definitely. That final set is going to be taking them a long time to go onto. I think they're going to be waiting as long as they can to try and get onto that, as we're on to lap 30 of 134 and just 6 miles away from being at 100 laps remaining as the 25 goes up quite high there. We're pretty single file at the front though. No major moves it looks like to be made just yet, but a little bit further back we are seeing some moves. There's Blixt goes down the inside of Ericsson there for third place, but in behind it is getting very close, because the 46 now of Tuka is getting closer as we come across the stripe in towards turn number 1. He has that inside line. He should be able to get Ericsson. But what about Blixt is around the outside lines. That Hagner also trying to make a move. He's being chopped off there by Ericsson, who comes up wide to block him. But the momentum's still there. We can almost go 3 wide, but Hagner chooses to step out of the way of that one.
He was looking 3 wide on the outside through the middle of the corner, looking through the middle on the exit, and was even looking down low down this back straight there, but he's staying behind the 2 Swedes now, who are almost performing a bit of a rolling roadblock to try and keep those behind. Eric Blixt has now gotten through and ahead, and Ericsson is the one who has to try and hold on to his position. Goes up to the middle line, not quite next to the wall, and he'll then get the speed and the slipstream of Blixt, who he might just push along here on the back straight. Not really, can't quite get to him, and he still can't find his way through. Timo Toika is looking like he's going to be the one in 4th place in a few moments' time.
Yeah, definitely. It's very close up to the wall for the 28 as well. We have a little bit of a breakaway here, the top 7, that is. Just a few car lengths getting in behind as momentarily Ericsson is going to go past as we look to go 3 wide once more. Joni Hagner in the 42 really likes that outside line. Gets the momentum onto this back straight, but then just nowhere to go because we are still side by side with Toika on the inside of the 28. Yes, but Ericsson in towards 3 and 4. Seemingly, you can actually stay side by side for quite a while around here, but look at all the different lines being used. The 95 comes up slightly higher, but he actually keeps it low to give Ericsson the space on the outside, but not enough as they continue to be side by side.
They certainly do. And up front, Leskinen just moving to a higher line as well there, which has allowed Danny Korpi to just close in a little bit, and this time round, we are seeing a bit more of a fight for the lead. Previous green flag run, it was the leader getting away eventually, and then this big battle for second place. But there's a defined group of about 7 drivers, all covered by a second at the moment, and they're all fighting for the lead, as Eracingligan is finding it a bit more difficult to run away in the same way as he managed in that first run.
Where would you want to be in this battle? Would you want to be Bohlin in there, that final car at the back, not really having too much worries in the world at the moment, or do you want to be at the front fighting for the race lead? We got Svenska and Korpi, who's going to take the lead for the first time this evening. Svenska in the 444 goes up wide as the 640 hits the front, as Blix is now into third place in behind, as we're almost slightly just about 3 wide coming in towards turn 1. Toika's going to try it on the inside line. Blix just cuts him off though, as we got also Ericsson on the outside line trying to chase down the 444. Korpi going off into the distance by a car length or 2.
Toika was very low down there on the inside going in towards turn number 1. Didn't get much joy really. Joni Hagner trying the outside this time, and he's very quick through the first pot. Jesper Eriksson slides up in front though, and so he's not going to get anywhere. Hagner here, he's only going to get alongside his teammate Timo Toika, so that's going to be not particularly useful really, as the 2 teammates battling it out for a position where they don't really need to. There's Bohlin. Do wonder where the best position to be is in this group, to be honest. Mainly, I don't think it really matters at this stage in the race. It's so early and the gap's so big between the 2 countries that it doesn't really matter. It's a little bit about having fun for these 7, I would say, and a little bit about just enjoying the battle while you can, but most of all, surviving and staying out of a crash.
Oh, definitely. There's plenty of time to go as well. But these are race drivers. They want to keep on fighting. Hagner is coming very fast in this stint. He's already worked his way up a few places, and make that another as he gets Blix down the back straight. He should have that one sorted in towards turn 3, unless Blix wants to use that high line, which seemingly is very good around here. So Hagner's move of going to the high line is now being used against him potentially in defence from the 95 as we come out of turn 4, and it looks like Korpi is also being caught up towards the front, so he can't pull away around this track, but Blix is still trying to hold it.
3 wide just up ahead of Jesper Eriksson as the battle for second place rages on. Maybe this is a chance for Danny Korpi to get away, because Leskala really struggled to do it. Maybe Korpi is able to, as Hagner is going to get freight trained a little bit, stuck up on the inside on his own, but he remains side by side with Eric Blick for third place.
He does, and this is very nice racing between all of these drivers actually so far. It's been very, very clean, but also hard at the same time. And I'm sure they'll be even more aggressive when we get into the final stint of the race. Hagner still trying to make this move stick, as Blix, he's been on that middle line for about 3 or 4 laps now, trying to defend, but the 42 is looking strong, and Blix is all boxed in a little bit. He's actually been able to get the momentum and get past to hold on to that third place. That is a little bit better from him. And I'm just looking a little bit further down. So some of the drivers who didn't stop, we've got Fredrickson, Holmer, Arrington, they dropped down to P29, 30, 31. So it hasn't worked. These new tyres are what you needed. And as we come across the line, where it's actually now Ericsson who's trying to get back past Hagner. So Hagner, he pushed for a few laps and is now going backwards again.
You say it's not worked, but what it does do is keep a set of tyres back for later on. So if there's a lot of cautions late on in the race and sort of needing new tyres all of the time, well, they're going to have one more set to go to, because in their cases they've still got 3 sets to put on in the final 90 laps of the race. That does keep you quite quick for the remainder, and obviously if it's green flag stops from here on in, it's not going to be much use, because you want to stay at green flag stopping as little as possible ideally. But if there's lots of cautions, they've kept a set of tyres back for later on, so I still don't mind the call. And after all, I believe Sweden are a little bit closer to Finland after this caution than they ever were during that first run, to be honest. What's the gap? At 184 points there, I think.
Yeah, definitely the gap has come down. And also for those drivers, they weren't in the top positions anyway, so they might as well try something. But they are playing the longer game, and a little bit of if, buts and maybes, but we'll see if it comes their way, as we still got this sort of 7-car battle at the front. But Toika has gone down to 7th, who was leading the race, your pole driver, but he is dropping off by a car length or so. We do have a second group of drivers not too far behind, although to be honest, it's not really a breakaway because it is a long train of cars in behind there. So we're not going to be seeing, some huge separation, at least in the front half of this field just yet. Very close lap times between all of these drivers. It's come across the line to start lap 44 here at Atlanta. And we've now got Sweden 2 and 3 chasing down. Sweden still yet to lead the race today.
Yeah, they are for the most part. Danny Corpy is struggling a little bit at the moment, by the way. It's good for him that another Finnish driver has taken over that mantle of leading the race. But Corpy has gone from first to fifth very quickly, and I actually thought when he was just behind Jukka Leskala that he would get to the front and maybe even run away, certainly hold the lead for a little while. That's definitely not happened here, and I'm afraid to say that Corpy is falling backwards with a increasing speed at the moment as we go back to the battles further down the field. Unfortunately, a lot of Swedish drivers are behind this. This is the sort of train of Finland, if you like, right the way through at least 10 places, and all ahead of a long list of Swedish drivers as well down at the back.
Yeah, look at that. You can see them all with the similar liveries. We do have the different chassis here, but all pretty much the same paint scheme, which is what we like to see, a bit of identification between them. And it is a whole long list, as you say, of the Finnish drivers there. Look at them. Absolute swarm of bees coming across the line, and they are looking very, very strong in this race. I was expecting it to be very close, and I thought it was going to be just a few positions here and there, but that huge points gap that is looking to be the way of Finland so far is continuing on as to the lead, potentially the 95. Can he get Sweden to lead the race for the first time of asking out to turn 4? Leskala in the 444 machine is under big pressure now as there's a bit of a gap behind the top 3.
There's a gap developing now. I have a feeling that once one of these two passes Leskala, and I do think that is coming pretty soon, then they're going to run away really at the front of this field. We're very much seeing the product of two drivers very much stuck behind the leader for the moment and struggling to pass through. Now down on the inside again for Eric Blicht, but the run for the 444 is just going to be too good. Leskala's going to lead another lap here, I think, and gets that run on the outside. He will indeed keep his nose ahead.
And we have no stage, we have no bonus points or anything. It's all about the positions on the track when it comes to the final team standings that you see updating in your top right. And it goes a little bit more the way of Sweden as they take the lead, at least momentarily, for the 95. Can he hold it? He might need another lap or so to put that one for certainty, but he's still got that inside line that he's had for the last few laps. Leskala goes very wide indeed in the 444 machine. The 95 is working hard for this. He could use the 28 to try and get involved as well at some point. We come across the line, and it's still Leskala leading the way, but Blixt is putting in a good effort.
Yeah, absolutely, and really has to. You just see the way that the points change in the top right, by the way, when Blick gets his nose ahead. Race win, as I say, really significant for the outcome of this event, although Sweden will need to get a damn sight closer to Finland, you would say, to get involved here. Now Blicht, I believe, just lifts off on the back straight there, says, well, I've not been able to go through, maybe Jesper Eriksson give this a better go, and he hands over to the 28 at the end of lap 49.
And this is very interesting how it seems like you can push for a few laps and then you start falling back. We've seen that for a lot of drivers. Hagner, Korpi, Toika. They've all done that where you try and make the overtakes. If you can't make it stick, maybe just burn up the tyres just a little bit more. Here's Dan Solo in the 13 machine. What a run he had at the end of the Svenska Eracingligan playoffs, but he's stuck down in 22nd place. I haven't really seen him today. He's in a big battle with Finnish drivers. He could overtake a lot of them up ahead of him and gain some good points back. But the first one that he needs to do is Katila on his Salman, I should say, on his outside. Katila, the next car up ahead. And there's one position. Now just needs to keep doing that one by one and go up the field.
Yep, it's 1 point a position, as previously mentioned. So every position will count towards the end of tonight. There's certain breaks in the field starting to develop really now. We mentioned the top 3 already, but there's some drivers are really a long way off the back for the moment. Bjorn Broström is currently 3/4 of a way, a lap down at the moment, maybe a little bit more. And so that's something to worry about for those at the back. Tony Uvenen still the only driver 1 lap down, although we have seen Jonas Skoglund get back out onto the circuit again, despite being 17 laps off the leader. That's our last running car at the moment. 3 retirements, unfortunately.
I respect that. 17 laps. That is a lot of time that he's sat there. That's about like 8 minutes or so that he sat in the pit lane getting those repairs. But he continues to stay out. We are seeing this battle. So we've got Korpi in front. Then we've got Toika and Hugnen behind. So Toika's coming back a little bit up into P5. Chase down Korpi's P4. The top 3 have got away by a second. And of course we have Haflidsson on the back. He's been trying to chase these guys down for the whole of this second stint so far. That 53 that we're on. So it's a 5-car battle here towards the lower parts of the top 10. Haflidsson, that's another position if he can make it stick. He's got a car up ahead of him though through turns 3, but he's certainly coming in a bit stronger as the stint goes on.
Again though for Haflidsson, he's pushing Joni Hagner through as well. We'll just wonder whether Timo Toika has been conserving his tyres a little bit through the first part and maybe unleashing a bit in this latter part, because if we get to lap 60, that will be splitting the race post caution into thirds. So if you intend to use all your tyres as if the race is going to go green, which I don't suggest is maybe the best idea, but someone might do it, then lap 60 is your lap. For those that didn't even come in and take fuel, lap 60 is pretty much going to be your limit anyway. And so we're going to see green flag stops from some in a few moments' time. Oscar Fred.
Yeah, the only one I remember doing so was that car of Fredriksson.
Out of those who did stop with the caution, whether they will stay out.
Yeah, I think the only one was Fredriksson, but we'll have to see, of course, who else wants to follow him through. The 81 machine there, just trying to continue his work, his way up and working his way forward. He was, of course, down in sort of 10th place, so up into that P7, and is now obviously trying to work his way on. I do wonder, Ewan, these green flag pit stops, how much they are going to, depending on how many people come in, how is that going to affect these drivers at the front, or are they just going to continue and to just push through with staying out as long as possible?
Don't know. I personally would stay out as long as possible, actually, because I think you want to keep tyres back for the end. Even if we see just a 15-lap green flag run, you'll absolutely feel tyres, so I'd want to keep a set back. And post-caution, you can do the race on just one stop. 110 laps is 55 each way, so when would they need to pit? About lap 79 to split the remainder of the race in half. That's when I think a lot of these drivers should come in, but some of these drivers, especially further back, might see the attraction of a new set of tyres early and think it's worth going at the earliest opportunity.
Yeah, it's always good to get those tyres, make some positions, but you can't have it all. You're good if you're going to be fast now, you'll be slower later. You can't be fast all the time. Just need to try and average that out the best you can. Here's Gunnarsson, P11. This could be a crucial move for the Swedes to try and get their drivers even a bit further up the field, as it's not looking the best of them so far. Eric Lundberg not too far behind him as well, but Gunnarsson's actually losing that place there in the 33 machine, although he gains it back with the momentum on that higher line. So not looking too bad, but these places one by one is what the Swedes need, as the points gap has gone back out towards that 200 point mark, 190 or so. So they're actually sort of losing over the last few laps.
It's not been trending in the right direction. What's the gap now? 192 is that? And losing even further. Side by side again for the lead, and Jesper Eriksson in front for one of the first times. I wonder whether he can stay in front, but Leskala is doing very well with the outside line here. Anytime he seems to go up there, he seems to just be getting a lot of joy and staying ahead. So Leskala leads another lap, and still Eriksson and Blick can't find their way through.
Yeah, Leskala's looking strong, isn't he? As we get closer and closer to that half distance, and just a few more laps, and he's been up there towards the front the whole time. And of course on that front row, and leading the way very nicely since he got that lead quite a while ago now, actually, after the restart. Looking very strong as we get cars down pit road. We got Holmer, Broström, Fredriksson, Arvidsson, all Swedish drivers who stayed out. They get to that lap 60 was what we thought it was for the fuel number. And they are going to, of course, continue on with the race. They will be, going a lap down. So they're going to be getting it'll be a bit interesting when we get some lap traffic potentially and some overtakes with that.
Yes, Ericsson, by the way, slapped the wall on the outside there through the quad oval last lap round. So I'm not sure whether he's got any damage as a result of that, but seemed to slap the wall on the straight really there. Now Timo Teucher alongside, and looks like he will be getting through into third place.
Yeah, Ericsson did that a few times in the past few weeks as well. I wonder if that's just a mistake or if those rear tyres are starting to get a bit cooked on the 28. Teucher's coming back strong. He dropped down for a few laps and is now coming. Maybe just just let the tyres cool off. Potentially just didn't push a little bit for some laps. But let's see how this one is going to work out as we're on lap 62. Leskala leads now from Blix. They've got about a second gap, and then it is this gaggle of cars in behind. Torge Eriksson, Hagner Korpi, Haflidersen, and Puustinen as well, just on the back. He's always been on the back of this battle, hasn't he? He hasn't really pushed his way forward. Side by side we go, Eriksson and Hagner. Eriksson holds on to that in P4.
Yeah, it's seemingly a show to me anyway that there isn't too much damage on that car, I would say. Hagner just up ahead of a battle between Danny Korpi and Michael Haflidersen at the moment, and they're going to be blocked pretty much by Hagner, who goes to the high side, maybe to try and deter Haflidersen from getting round the outside there, but no, Haflidersen stays ahead and will now look for a move of his own, but finds himself very close to the back of Hagner. They'll almost be 3 wide again off the corner here. They're all going to have to give each other enough room, and they... Oh, don't! Spin into the wall, and the 640 goes around, causing our second caution, you would think.
Absolutely, the 81 had a run, went through the middle, and just caught the rear right of the 640, spinning him into one of his teammates, and that, as you say, brings out the caution just shy of the halfway mark in this Finland versus Sweden event. Finland are looking good, and how is this one going to change things as we're about halfway through the race? Of course, everyone will come in, but then they're only going to have one more new set of tyres after that, so the next caution will be very interesting. Let's have a look. Yeah, just the slightest bit of contact. Haflidersen didn't really change his line, to be honest, too much. There might just be 3 cars into one, and maybe just not enough lifting off the throttle there. Very unfortunate for the 640, who was having such a strong run up towards the front of this race.
Yeah, I think it's the car on the inside responsibility there, especially to give room on the outside, because especially when you're right up on the outside, the wall's next to you and you really can't go anywhere. When you're on the inside, there's 2 cars either side of you, can't go anywhere either, so it's a very difficult place to find yourself. Now, lap 64 and everybody's into the pit lane. 64 complete, I mean. So that's still 70 remaining. They can't make it home on fuel from here. They will have to use all of their sets of tyres today for the most part, which is no surprise really, as they all pull into the box for the second time.
And what is the tyre strategy is going to look like? Of course, I'd assume everyone's just going to fill up and change the tyres as well, or is anyone going to be trying something a little bit different? Of course, we had a little bit of fuel left, but it looks like everyone, at least towards the front, all has the same times. As Blix jumped to the front, I think he might have on pit exit. He's got Leskala and Haflidersen also in P5. Where has Jesper Eriksson has? He's probably taken some damage repairs, I'd assume. He's dropped down to P26. So that's a big name for Sweden to lose. But while they've lost there, they've gained the race lead for the first time. Eric Blix, 95, goes to the front on pit road.
Eriksson's still not out pit lane, by the way, still getting repairs done, and is that... Well, we'll see if it's the end of the day for Eriksson. Also seeing long stops for Danny Korpi and Robert Eriksson too, who are on pit lane. Few cars were caught a lap down, by the way, because they pitted early. The likes of Odra Fredriksson, Daniel Holmer, and some others as well. They should get the wave around, though, back onto the lead lap.
Yeah, that'd be tough to be sat there for a while. Ericsson goes out at the perfect time to not go a lap down himself, but he's going to be at the back of the line, and that is going to be a lot of work. P31. Let's have a look at this once more. So yeah, the 640 is coming up, and Haflidsson can't really go too much further to the right. So I think you're right on what you said, and that might be a bit more on the 640 getting spun into the 42. So the 42's dragged down the wall as well. There could have been a lot bigger of a crash. But yeah, I really don't think the 81 could do too much more there, to be honest.
No, I don't think so. Nor could the driver on the outside, Joni Hagner, who I'm surprised in himself has not got much more damage to repair, actually. There you go. Seemingly got away with it. Yeah, as I say, I think that's responsibility of the car down low. And unfortunately, it's ended in a crash. Corpy spent 50 seconds down on pit lane. I'd imagine a fair amount of that damage has been repaired, because all in all it wasn't huge contact with the wall or anybody else really.
Yeah, it wasn't the biggest incident in the world, but there's definitely going to be or was going to be some damage repairs that needed to be done, which makes sense. Lap 67, and we are halfway through this race, as obviously we're under the pace truck conditions, as is a couple of drivers going past, all the drivers working their way through, as of course it will be Blixt taking his way towards the front in the 95 machine, as there was a few drivers, as you say, going themselves back onto the lead lap. The 95 will have the triple four on his outside. We're on fresh tyres all around. All the drivers stacking up behind. They are ready to go racing once more in this Finland versus Sweden. Finland dominating the first half of this race. Look at all of the white hoods there, and the same logo on front. They're all the Finnish drivers and all the Swedish drivers pretty much in their own liveries, and it's looking very much a wall of blue up towards the front here at Atlanta. It's myself, Cameron Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me, and Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast, as we're going to get underway for the second half of Finland versus Sweden. We've already had our first two tyre sets, just two remain, including the one they are on. Just one new set from here. The next caution is going to be crucial with how this race goes and the tyre drop-off that we are seeing. But as we come back into the restart zone, the 95 will get us underway once more, and that looks to be a good restart as well. Should keep the lead coming down towards turns 1 and 2, but he's got big pressure, big drivers coming in behind the 444 and the 46 on that second row.
Yeah, very much important for Sweden to try and win here, because down the back of the field not quite going as well for them, and Eric Blixt has done a good job at starting this off. But look at the gap now, 230, I was working it out when it moved, 238 points. It's a very big gap indeed. Haflidsson trying to help out as much as he can, 3 wide for second place here, and based on what we just saw to bring out that previous caution, that's bravery from the three of them. Haflidsson comes out on top by the looks of things.
Sweden 1-2 up towards the front. He's definitely being very brave. A 3 wide with him in the middle just caused a caution, and of course 1 lap later he goes and does the same thing, but this time completes the move in towards second place. Toiker's up into third. Hagner is in fourth. He was involved and has definitely some contact, some damage from that one, as Leskala drops down to 5th position now. A big breakaway towards the front, but look at this gaggle of cars in behind. You try and work out who is who as we come towards the first corner on lap 71. Everyone's diving in there, trying to make some moves while everyone's still close together.
This is the kind of stuff that Jesper Eriksson is having to do with, by the way. He's very much back in the pack and having to work his way through the field all over again as a result of the damage that he picked up to 23rd at the moment in the 48. So it's a decent recovery for the moment, but such a long way to go, and it's so difficult to fight your way through the field. Not really because it's difficult to overtake, but when there's already 2 drivers side by side ahead of you like that, it is pretty difficult to make it 3 wide here.
Oh, definitely. And look at that side-by-side action with the drivers trying to work their way through. I think that was Anton Ullman on the outside there, potentially for 3 wide, as we're potentially multiple drivers as well, 3 wide, coming down this back straightaway. The 25 there on the inside, trying to work his way through. This is Ryson, as it goes potentially 4 wide from second as well. Very difficult conditions for these drivers, as Ullman, I think that is up in towards the wall, scraping, sliding his way down the wall. Salmon making up a position because of that, as it is getting very close, and the drivers are starting to take some risks.
Yep, we're in the second half of the race after all, and so risks, even more risks are being taken. Another 3 wide moment off of turn 2, as they all try and figure themselves through. Danny Corpy looking down the inside. He's another driver who's got to recover some positions after the damage suffered during the previous caution. Danny Corpy already inside the top 20 again. In fact, up to 13th place. A remarkable recovery, really.
Yeah, that's not too bad, actually. He can do something from there, and hopefully got enough damage repairs that the car is looking pretty good as well. In the green machine as well is Eracingligan trying to work his way up, and after staying out, he does have, in that first stop, does have that extra set of tyres towards the end of the race. So you might be right, Ewan, in that 24 machine might be coming fast at the end of this race if we get a couple of cautions. 3 wide, he goes in the middle to try and make some positions, but decides to back out of that one.
Going to be interested to see what happens if there's another caution in this race, to be honest. I think if it stays green, they will run the second half of the race pretty much split into 2. Went back to racing with about 66 laps, in fact exactly 66 laps remaining, so that's 33 split each. But if we go for a green flag run of 33 laps, what's everyone going to do? Are they going to split it, considering or hoping that it's green all the way, or are they going to wait for a caution? Well, meanwhile, Joni Hagner makes his way down a pit lane for some reason.
He had damage before, and this is weird to come in, of course, under green flag conditions, and that is going to really just hamper his race. He's not going to be... did he not take fuel? Was that some sort of penalty that he's got? Unsure, but he wasn't the longest stop in the world. He's back out, but he's going to be right to the back of the pack, and he should go a lap down as well, as Blix comes across the line. 1.3 second lead to Toyko, who's trying to chase him down. Hafidison is also almost a second back, and the score, the standings, was looking a lot better for Sweden this time around, down to about 150 points, but that's still a lot that they need to overcome as well.
Yeah, the gap was, or the tally for Finland was below 400 for the first time in quite a long time, so it's starting to swing the way of Sweden just a little bit here. They are persevering as this race continues on, and getting better as it goes on. Clearly right now. Don't forget Jesper Eriksson still coming through the field and making up places, although the same is for Danny Corpy, I suppose, who's right on the back at the moment of 11th place, as he's currently 12th. Erik Lundberg has stepped into the void, though. Not a driver we've seen so much of so far, but now into the top 5 for Sweden as he battles with Tommy Kattila here.
Yeah, getting very close between the two. The 210 really, and Lundberg as well, really just putting their name for themselves up inside this top 10 for the first time this race, and inside the top 5 even. The Kattila is, of course, Lundberg trying to chase him down, and there is the green machine of the 24 Ayrton up into P12 on this longer stint that he tried strategy, and he is coming further his way. Kattila now up into P4 as well, as Hafidison drops down, so the battle is still going on strong. That 210 looking very fast at this point of the race is now looking up to get into P3 as Puustinen holds that position right now.
Yeah, it's been a nice couple of laps for Finland actually to get up into 2nd, 3rd and 4th, but it could be Hafidison just backing off for the moment, knowing that later on it will be more important to have some tyres left in the bank in terms of their condition. Tommy Kattila makes her way around the outside at the moment. Otto Puustinen won't fight that one too hard at all. Puustinen is the driver with the most points who's in this race, who completed in the Tronet series last season, most recent season, because as we've already spoken about, champion Alexia Lohman not here today.
Yeah, shame for that one, but I don't think Finland are missing him too much in terms of the standings and how it is looking for them. They have come out very strong here at Atlanta. Almost 3 wide momentarily in the background. Was that the 4 maybe dropping down, or a lapped runner just losing some positions there as the drivers work their way past? And that's certainly a tough one to go lap down around here as they continue to have these battles in the midfield. These are some crucial points. Remember, if Sweden can get some places down here in the midfield, that will quickly add up. And that is the 49 of Kenneth Tier trying to work his way past. He's got Etupalta in the 15 machine around him. He's trying to, of course, get around the 555. Jesper Räisänen as well. Tough place to go side by side.
Below 100 points for the first time, by the way. 94, 98, it keeps changing as the positions keep changing and the battles continue.
It does change fast, doesn't it?
Sorry?
It changes really fast when you start overtaking a few cars and start getting things around. As you say, under around 100 points. I mean, we were at 200 not too long ago.
Yeah, it's back to 104 now. I've said that though. So,
happens.
So no longer below. Oh, and got a
caution. Well, the caution comes out for the 3rd time this evening as a Blix leads the way. We'll get to that in a few moments as we hear a few messages from our partners. And welcome back. Here is the replay as the 4 of Fargo comes down, loses the rear end. The 13 of Solo comes in behind. Then we got the 496 as well of Jana Kokkola gets involved. So Fargo there just having a very slow, lethargic slide to bring out the 3rd caution of the light. And it is lap 85. And Ewan, we have interesting plays here. So we did not get pit stop. Well, we did get a few of them a bit further down, but none of the big drivers up was a front pit. So if we go green to the end now, this could be interesting, but they have saved that final set of tyres if we get another caution.
I think it was the best idea to stay out, but I'm not entirely sure really.
I think it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to obviously wait to see the long game. But if we stay out, they're going to have to do a lot of fuel saving. And they kind of need to commit to that early. Otherwise, it's going to be extreme fuel saving in the final 30 laps or so. So that is a weird one, what they're going to have to do. Because, yeah, if you're going to commit to the fuel saving, but then you actually never need that fuel in the end, then that is also a bit of a difficult one, because then you're going to be slower in the next 20 laps. So a big decision coming up here for these for these drivers, and I can't wait to work out what they're going to do, as there's approximately 50 laps to go, just shy here in Finland versus Sweden.
You say that those at the back pitted only. Well, Katala came in from inside the top 10. Anton Oman came in, I think, in the top 10, at least on the fringes of it. It wasn't all about those towards the back, but I think the only reason you would come in that situation would be if you've got a set of tyres in the bank already, in which case use them now. And Oscar Fredriksson, who got the lead earlier on as a result of that strategy, certainly did that. Or if you've got damage as well, it makes sense to try and repair it now. Yeah,
Aracingligan in the 24 and Dan Holm with the 79. They were the other drivers alongside Fredriksson. They've all now used their joker of these fresher tyres, so they should be making moves actually. So what position they're 23rd, 25th, 27th. So look for those names to jump up inside the top 15 or so over the next 20 or 30 laps, as we'll then be looking to make one final pit stop to the end, you would assume. But if it goes green, is someone going to try and stay out to the end? They are going to need over 60 laps. 65, 67 laps they're going to need to the end, judging by the fact we had the caution about half race distance. So that is going to be a lot longer than we were expecting. But you have enough laps. You have 50 or 45 laps to go now to try and make that work. We're side by side as we come out of the final couple of corners, where Eric Blixt will be leading us to the green flag once more. He's got the 46 of Teemu Toikka, your pole position driver, on his outside, who does not get a good run, and that is going to allow Puustinen to get up into second place, as Haflidsson in your fourth position is going to be coming through, still there trying to work his way through. A couple of the Finnish drivers can't do so on this restart, but it is Puustinen who made the best jump in that top lot, with 3 wide in the background as Lundberg and Zakari either side.
Wasn't a good start for Lundberg at all, actually. Really slid off of the start, and it's been going backwards ever since, really. Jesper Eriksson back involved, though, for Sweden, which is good news for them, that he's making his way round the outside, though, although passing Lundberg isn't going to get anybody any more points here. So they're going to need to work together to move forward, if you like, as Finland take back control, still having 6 of the top 10.
Yeah, they are looking very strong. Even inside that top 20 split that we see at the moment, it is very much towards Finland's way. It's gone back up to 130 odd points the way of Finland. So it got just under 100 for a moment. So that showed you just how quickly these things can change around. So Sweden can still do something in this very important race for the bragging rights between Finland versus Sweden. But can they get the job done? With 44 laps remaining. We see the orange car there, Lundberg on that inside. He's got Jesper Eriksson to his outside, who was all the way at the back, remember. He's now into the wall. He's got to be careful with that to not get too much more damage, but he's done good to jump up. He was down in 31st place at one point.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of other drivers jumping up, by the way, we've got plenty of that going on a bit further down, of those who pitted under the previous caution. Oscar Fredriksson's into the top 20 for the first time. Tomi Katala gaining places as well. But I think if you were to split those 10 drivers that came in under the previous caution, the majority of them were from Sweden. So they will be making up the majority of the places right now, because even though it wasn't a long green flag run the previous time round, it will still make a difference.
And the green machine on the back of the shot here, Aracingligan, he was the one I mentioned, is in 25th place. He's made up 13 places, P12 already. Just showing you how new tyres are so crucial around here. And he has another new set to go later in the race, should he need it. So that is looking very good. He gets past his good friend there of Jesper Eriksson to the outside line. He goes. Further places to be made for that green machine, I am sure, later on in this race. There's the 24 making up another couple of places. Wow, the tyres are so beneficial around this track.
They really are. And even at that sort of distance, you're wanting to change them and get onto a new set. I think if there's another caution in this race, then everybody will be in who's got a set of tyres remaining, and then that'll be pretty much it as far as the tyre changes go. But look at this, 72 points, 70 points. Sweden are gaining points almost as quickly as you can say it right now, as a lot of their drivers are on new tyres and they're making use of them. Eric Lundberg isn't, but he is making use of the outside line with Jukka Leskala. Here goes Alexander Aronson as well through the middle of them.
Oh, this is very difficult. She has that one made, but can he make the second one? Yes, he can. And remember, so he's made up 20 positions here, which means he's gained those 20 points, and then Finland have lost it. So it's actually 40 points, the differential, and that is how quickly these things change. And we're getting very close to 60 points between the two. Finland are coming back fighting.
Yeah, they really are. Fantastic entertainment here. 40 laps to go in this race. I have a feeling that one of these guys on new tyres is going to be leading the race before long, by the way. Aronson just can't be stopped at the moment, it seems. Daniel Holmer is another driver on new tyres, by the way, and he's up to 8th place. Oscar Fredriksson moves into the top 10 for the first time as well as a result of those new tyres that he has taken on. As we talked about earlier, he held them back earlier on. It looked like a bad call at the time. This is exactly why I said it was worth the risk, though, because this kind of situation can happen, and now he's gaining so much.
Oh, he is, and Fredriksson is following him through, not too far behind in 9th place as well. He's coming through just on the back of the shot. And I'll tell you what, Aronson is going to be leading the way. Give him a few more laps. And now Sweden are really starting to come for this race. Aronson is leading at the end of this next lap, maybe even on this lap as the 24 goes. Can he get the run across the stripe? He might just do, actually. The 95 maybe just leads it, but not too many meters in the future. The 24 is going to have the lead. So from P25 up to P1, in just, 11-12 laps from that restart. He is looking very good indeed. In the background, we've got a car riding up against a wall. I think that's a Lavi Räisänen who's dropping down. But look, all the yellow plate cars coming up inside the top 10.
This is amazing. 10 points. Goodness me, Sweden are making a comeback here, and there's still so many drivers, by the way, on new tyres coming up from behind. Anton Oman's another one of them. Tomi Katala is one of the only ones from Finland who are sort of flying the flag here, but the problem is Katala's not actually overtaking very many Swedish drivers. He's overtaking a lot of his teammates, which is no help. Now through goes Daniel Holmer as well, as those on new tyres go and make a gap. Otto Pusten has been trying to pass Eric Blicht. It's not been happening. The gap's down to 2 points. We could have a tied race very shortly.
This is crazy stuff. Sweden will surely get the lead here as the 12 machine of Fredriksson comes up the inside. We're tied between the two countries. Sweden, for the first time of asking, go to the front at lap 97 here, onto lap 98. Finland, of course, will get that back very quickly as it changes around, but Sweden are coming back swinging with the final third of this race underway, and they are starting to pull away at the front. So sometimes it just shows you the best position to be long-term in a race isn't always at the front. We go 3 wide into P3, and this is looking very good. Haflidsson is trying to make it 6 from 6 at the front.
Wow, this is quite unbelievable. The battle between Katala and Haflidsson really making a big difference for the moment, and Finland are back level again. So this is all of a sudden very close indeed. Haflidsson gets ahead, and so Sweden go ahead, but Katala on the inside should be able to make this pretty easily, and he should be able to get through an Eric Blicht as well. So Finland might just nose up in front again as one of the Finnish drivers gets into the wall in the background.
Oh, this is getting tense between the two, and I'm sure they're following this along. Of course, a lot of the drivers will have communication between each other. They know what's going on, and the big part as well is just bulk loading your drivers towards the front of the field, getting all the big points, and that is what Sweden have done over the course of the last few laps. But then, as you see, Finland are coming back. They're now 6 points because the places in the back are also going to be deciding this championship, if you can call it that. Ericsson into the wall once more, sliding the rear of that 28 machine. He's not 100% comfortable in that car after the big contact he had earlier.
No, certainly not, and it's not really, that confidence hadn't really been recovered at any point, unfortunately. So it's a bit of a shame to see for Ericsson. He would be one of those you were sort of banking on earlier on to try and make up some of the places for Sweden, but that's not really happened for them, unfortunately. The problem for Sweden, though, is still that 8 of the bottom 10 are made up of their drivers, and a lot of those positions are not ones that are going to really change. There's a big train, you can see in the midfield there, of Finnish drivers who are gaining points on 7, in the bottom 10 of Swedish drivers. It's difficult when you're back there to really do anything, so it's up to the guys like Erik Lundberg, who's very much in a fight at the moment, Petter Helmbroll as well in 21st position. It's up to these kind of guys to make up the places for Sweden at the moment.
And the one issue that they've got is that Katila is looking very fast inside that top 5 as well, so he's going to be getting some a nice bigger points finish. There's a lot of drivers wiggling around. We get to 33 laps remaining in this race, and the laps will fly past. We're doing 33 second lap times as well, so you do the maths on that one. Just about 15 or so minutes left under green flag conditions as we work our way towards the finish of this Finland versus Sweden event. Sweden are coming back swinging. Remember, at one point they were about 200 points behind and is now down to 4.
Yeah, I think the widest we saw it was about 220, maybe not that large, but it was very, very just demoralising to watch if you were cheering on Sweden to see. But now you can just see how quickly it changes. As I said earlier on, because when you gain 1 point, you take one away, it means that the gaps close and extend doubly as quickly. The trend just going away again from Sweden here by the looks of things, as Finland make up a place. Otto Pustinen getting that position ahead of Eric Blicht. That's the first drivers who are not on new tyres, as Erik Lundberg hits the wall.
Oh, and he almost came down and clattered into Pavianen there, but fortunately they continue on, and it is Kenneth Tier, the 49, getting up on the inside as well. That could have been a big one with 30 laps to go. That would have been slightly less interesting in some ways, because then everyone would have pitted and gone on to fresh tyres at the end, but we do continue on green flag racing. 30 laps to go here at Atlanta, and it is looking very good for Finland as it stands. The points gap going their way. We've got Eriksson Johansson for Sweden coming in. Green flag conditions. They'll be going a lap down, but they'll be getting some fresher tyres, maybe to get some sort of undercut if we go green to the end.
Yeah, if we go green to the end as well, by the way, we're sort of conflicted as to whether we can make it on fuel. Those that pitted under that previous caution, of course, will be able to make it, but what about for the rest of them? That's the real question here. Entirely sure whether they will be able to make it or not, because we have had those caution laps, and there was about 66 laps remaining when they went back green after pitting the most recent time for those guys. So I think most of them are hoping for another caution before the end.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. 40 laps on the stint, 29 to go. So there were some pace laps in there, but you're still looking at 65 green flag laps for those, as we're getting Lundberg, I think that was coming down pit road. So still, and he's spun coming on the brakes down into pit road. The 18 goes around, and that is potentially a crucial name to lose some points as well with that one, as Sweden go even further behind. It's already back up to 54 points.
Yeah, and Jesper Eriksson, by the way, went 2 laps down. It was a long stop for him, so unfortunately Sweden are seeing this fall apart a little bit at the moment. Although saying that, one mistake exactly like that and Sweden would be right back in the game all over again. So it's just not over until it's over here. The point swing can be very, very quick indeed as they go into the final 30 laps of this race. It is looking good for Finland, though. Round the outside there for somebody. Is that Eriksson making
it? It's Eriksson. He's laps down, but he's on fresh tyres, and he's just driven literally around his countryman. And here is the replay of the 18, and just slightly losing the rear, and then just couldn't get that grip back. And he might probably get a speeding penalty from that as well, just to make it doubly bad. As we go across the stripe, bit of contact there with Toika on the back of Blixt, but they're continuing on nicely. Remember, that was the battle for the lead, and it's now down for P8.
It's still as important as it was, well, maybe not as it was for the lead, but either way, a position, and it's pretty important for Blick to stay ahead. But Timo Toika getting back into this race. It seems that Blicht has struggled in the last few moments, by the way. Pustonen has not long got through in him, and that gap's quite big already now. Timo Toika will follow through as well, although it's going to be hard work. Blicht fighting back on the outside here as Sweden now go over 60 points behind.
Yeah, it's opening up, isn't it, that gap? 25 laps remaining. Arvidsson leads the way from Ullman, Holmer and Fredriksson in a 1, 2, 3, 4 for Sweden, but is not going their way in the overall points. Look at the gaggle of finished cars there, from P11 downwards, P18 or so. Those are the bulk of the drivers that are keeping those points away from Sweden at this moment in time, and they don't really need to worry too much about the battles themselves as well, because there's so many of them that they are looking very good as we come across the line. They got Gunnarsson in behind trying to make some moves, but it's so tough when you have all of the countrymen right next to each other.
It is. It's, of course, in the wall for someone as well, and that's not going to be ideal. Everybody swerves to avoid. What we're also going to start to see now, by the way, is those who are, and we already have seen a little bit of it, those who are on new tyres coming through and making up places, not necessarily actual positions, but at least track positions, which is pretty crucial for this race, because it means they're going to get in the way, basically, of all of these battles, and it's going to just interrupt fights like these ones up towards the front.
Oh, definitely, that's part of it. I love the pitch of the car the 95 had there into turn 1. He's actually lost out a good couple of car lengths, so it's probably not a good sign, but just the way the car rotated and flicked down as Kenneth Tier's going to get past him, maybe just showing signs of actually wear, but the movement of the car was very nice indeed to look at. As we come to caution, 22 laps to go. Everyone will be coming in. This is kind of what they were hoping for, to be honest, as we go to is that the 5th caution of the day, with 22 laps remaining in Finland versus Sweden. Finland looking strong at the moment, but now with everyone going to green flag conditions with fresh tyres, let's see how this one works out. The 25, that is Gunnarsson spinning. The 88, that's Lindqvist getting spun up into the wall. Räisänen is taken out with that, but that was the 33 of Jonas Gunnarsson, currently in P20, who was causing that one.
And it's gained them a few points. Might be why there'll be a bit of animosity down there, but either way, should be around 60 as they go into pit lane. We'll see how the positions change as we go through this pit stop phase, because as you say, we should be seeing a pit stop from everybody here. Alexander Arvidsson will be first as he gets picked up by the pace truck. Here's the onboard. So as
this is Gunnarsson 33 for Sweden. He's got 25, comes past him, looking all right, and he goes for a little bit of a bump, ends up in the middle of the 3 wide, and that is just not the most ideal car placement there. And it wasn't, again, the biggest crash in the world from what we were expecting, but just the tiniest of nudges as the 24 does come down into pit road. Is that a few drivers staying out, actually? Yeah. Ullman and Kattila have stayed out, maybe hoping to try and get towards the end of this race.
Well, that surprises me totally, because they're going to get swallowed up by those in the pit lane now, you would have thought. But let's wait and see. If they've got another set of tyres waiting, then I really don't see why they haven't pitted there. But that's the only explanation I can really think of as we get down on pit lane now. Everybody makes their stop. Arvidsson already out. You can see him in the green and the yellow. Does he make it out first? He certainly will. He'll be first of those that pitted.
Look at the other Swedish drivers coming in behind. So the order has stayed fairly stable, at least to the front of that. We'll let the timing tower do its bit and move around, work out where everyone is. But it looks like it's Arvidsson, Holmer, Fredriksson and Haflidason who will be effectively the first 4 drivers. Then it's Pustonen, Toika and Parviainen in your next positions for Finland. As it stands, with 68 points back for Sweden, so they have actually lost out from that. But with Ullman and Kattila staying out P1, P2, there's a couple of lap cars in there as well. They are going to be certainly getting involved. We'll find out if that's a good or a bad thing on those older tyres with about 18 laps to go at the green.
I'm trying to think now whether Anton Ullman and Tommy Kattila don't have another set of tyres to go to, because in my opinion that's the only reason why they would stay out. I don't see any other, to be honest. What it has done also is prevented some cars from getting the wave around. So we are going to see Jesper Eriksson stay one lap down.
Ooh, that is that's a tough one there for the Swedes as they lose a big nail. Though Jesper obviously was having a number of troubles in this race so far, and not able to be up towards the front like he would have wanted. So let's see how this works out. End of line penalty for the 33 Gunnarsson for causing that wreck. So the 33 will be dropping down to the back and we'll be having to make up some places once more as it's going to be a short dash to the end. Ewan, it's still looking good for Finland though.
It is, and I think they're very much controlling this from here. It's going to take... What we saw, the reason for the big switch around last time, in my opinion, was because of the higher proportion of Swedish drivers who were on newer tyres compared to the Finnish drivers. It was only really Katila on new tyres during that previous green flag run. Now everybody's got them on. Does it really matter? It's basically a straight fight, and when Swedish drivers need to make 40 overtakes equivalent to on Finnish drivers, that all of a sudden seems like a really big ask. It's an average of 2 overtakes a driver, but when you remember not everyone's in the race anymore, and of course Anton Oman can't overtake anybody, it gets a bit more difficult than that, of course. But it's a difficult situation for them. They'll have 17 laps to turn it around.
Yeah, it's funny when you put it down like that, actually, because 2 positions per driver actually makes it sound not as big of a mountain to climb, and that is also how these gaps open up very quickly, because if you gain 5 positions up and down, then that times is very, very quickly indeed. But it's going to be 17 laps to go at the line. We got Urman and Katila on the front row, but remember they have stayed out, so they're going to be struggling a lot. But they have the track position. Can they keep even inside the top 15 or so coming towards the end? They have been out there for 32 laps already since the previous caution. Then your second row will be Auridsson in the green machine and Dan Holmer alongside him. Fredriksson and Haflidsson in behind before we get a wave of Finnish drivers. It's looking good for Finland. They just need to seal the deal here in the final 17 laps at Atlanta. The bragging rights for their country are on the line, but who is going to get the race victory as well? The 42 can't get the power down, and that is going to hold up everyone behind just a little bit. The 24 of Auridsson is going to go to the inside to try and retake the race lead that he had, and also coming through in behind the 81 of Haflidsson, who's made a brilliant start from P4. As with 3 wide, many lanes deep, they've got to be careful not to squeeze them up to the outside. With 4 wide momentarily in the background as well, the low ends of the top 10, but we've all escaped as drivers clip the wall indeed.
Yeah, well, they've all made it through, but it's about Sweden making up places here, and they've only really made up places on themselves here. That restart there is an exact example why I'm not entirely sure why those 2 drivers, Oman and Katila, didn't come in. If they don't have any tyres remaining, then fair enough. They just sort of had to make their bed and lie in it. But if they had tyres to spare, I really don't understand why they didn't come in there. Side by side for the lead between Auridsson and Haflidsson. Not sure how ideal this is, really.
Well, I think Sweden are on the back foot anyways. Over 100 points now. They are losing points hand over fist. So at that point, you might as well go for the race lead. And we do know what rivalry these two had in the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan over the course of the season. And they were always fighting up towards the podiums themselves. Auridsson winning a couple of races. Haflidsson as well winning a handful. Oh, but contact is made. The 81, can he save it? Yes, he can. After contact on the front end, being squeezed down there by the 24 and the 81 coming up into him. But he managed to save it, and he only drops down to 6th place.
What a great save. Well, thankfully he doesn't spin around in front of the field and cause a complete pile-up, because that looked on the cards for a moment there. But thankfully the save has kept his green flag running, more importantly as well. 15 laps to go. It will be turned into 14 in this final green flag run that's only going to be about 10 minutes long. It's a real dash to the line that Alexander Auridsson absolutely has to hang on in.
And the points are now over 130 for Sweden, losing out to Finland as it stands. This is not a nice part of the race. Remember, they were leading only by a few points, but they're leading for a short while. And it is now just going backwards a little bit as we are in this final stint of the race, presumably. But the risks are being taken. Cautions are always on the horizon. Auridsson leads another lap, though, but Toika your pole position driver in the 46. He is coming for that one and trying to make those that final position to get the lead back. But the 81, I don't think he's completely out of it, you know. He hasn't dropped off. His tyres might be hurting just a little bit, but he's still there.
Yeah, and you don't really have to look after your tyres in this final run. It's only 20 laps or so, even less in fact, so you can really abuse these tyres towards the end of the race. It is their final set. Not many of them are going to have another set to go to later on, but they're not going to want or indeed need another set to look at a little bit later. They can just use these tyres as much as possible. As Blixt goes down the inside of Timo Teucher, gets into the side of him indeed as well and gains a point or two.
Wow, this is tough racing as they are fighting for the win now, to be honest, on the track. And obviously the final podium places. There's the 81 sliding down the inside of Oscar Fredriksson. Door to door they go. But the 81 has made up another place up into 5th. He goes now. And he's trying to chase down that podium. He's got a couple of Finnish drivers in front, Bohlin and Teucher. As they are, of course, then in behind another 2 drivers. It's 2 by 2 by 2 inside your top 8 for each country. As we are 11 laps to go in this race, 10 to go at the line, 1.5 miles per track, so just 15 miles remaining. And let's see how this one works as we're seeing Puustinen go up the inside to try and get on the podium.
Yeah, this is an all-Finnish battle for 3rd place here. Puustinen on the inside, Timo Teucher around the outside. Oh, and in the wall, Eric Blixt right ahead. So Teucher's going to be able to go nowhere really, although now he gets clear, he'll have a look to the inside, but the 95 with a big error there that could cost him some places. Contact, huge crash.
Oh, massive crash as further drivers getting involved. This is nasty scenes there, but the 46 with a huge impact, and this is going to change the complexion of the order. It's going to be very much a sprint to the end. Everyone's already on their last tyre, so they're going to have to stay out, of course, but this is going to be not ideal for Sweden. Look at all of the Finnish drivers front-loaded as the caution comes out, and there's only going to be a handful of laps remaining when we get to the end. Let's see this once more. The 46 to the inside of Blixt, and just slightly loses the rear end, comes up a bit high, and then once there's contact on the front of the 95, nothing either driver could do.
Yep, the argument there is going to be whether Teucher came up into Blixt on the outside there, or whether Blixt was sort of moving towards the inside or not. That's going to be the argument. I'm not entirely sure which way to call it, to be honest, looking at that. But what we do know is that there's a lot of damaged cars as a result. Initially, Sweden seemed to get out the other side okay, but it's seeming that with Blixt falling a long way down the field, they're only going to lose more points.
Yes, definitely. 9 laps remaining, and let's see this once more from Helmbro. Just, couldn't do anything about that. Cars in the road in front of him, and unfortunately just slightly went right, which the car ended up not going too much further down to the left and just losing out with that one. So it's 154 points, the gap between Finland and Sweden. So I think we know who's going to be winning overall, but we still have 3 Swedish drivers going for the race win, so surely they want that one as well.
Yeah, they certainly will. As individuals, they'll want to win the race. I personally like to see Oscar Fredriksson win the race, to be honest with you. Great pit call earlier on. Well, it was short-term pain, but he's getting the long-term gain from it right now. He stayed out under the very first caution of the race, which put him in the lead, but he got absolutely freight-trained off the restart because he had no tyres on board, whereas everyone else had fresh ones on and absolutely mauled him. He was even forced into a green flag pit stop. Had to take the wave around earlier on as well, but he's back onto the lead lap now, and during the what I thought was going to be the penultimate caution, it's actually turned out to be the 3rd last. He has made up a lot of positions in that green flag run after that because he was on new tyres and used up those new tyres that he held back by staying out under the first caution. Great strategy from him all day long, and I think, well, personally, I'd like to see him rewarded for that.
And in that case, 3 overtakes. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, but not many laps to go. It's going to be 7 at the line. Do we line up, or is there going to be another time around? I think there might just be. So not the ideal situation, because that means there's going to be probably 5 laps to go when we get back to green flag racing, and a very short dash. We do have a couple of opportunities for green-white checkers, but of course that just depends obviously, if we ever get into that situation, and I think they might, they might be wrecking a few more times if we get to that, because it seems like everyone is all out for the win today. And it's funny how these things can change very, very quickly indeed. So we have had some drivers down pit road, of course, still trying to do their thing, but definitely a different look towards the front of the field from what we had a bit earlier.
This race, by the way, is not going to be constrained by the time limit it does come with. I think we've still got an hour and 45 to go or something, haven't we? Or not an hour and 45, sorry. 40, maybe 35 minutes remaining or something along those lines. So even if we do need both green, white checkers or whatever, or it's a really messy end to the race, we're not going to be stopped by the time limit. We're going to get to see this race come to its natural end, which is a great thing. As you mentioned, I think this is going to be about the individuals here, who can take the race win as an individual, because Finland are in an extremely strong position as things stand. Sweden need to make about 70 overtakes. That's about 3.5 each.
Yeah, when you say it like that, the mountain is big to climb. We go side by side once again, though. So Jim, I know you want Fredriksson to win, but who do you think is actually realistically going to win?
Well, about 10 laps ago I would have said Timo Toika actually, but that's not going to happen anymore. He's in the wall and very damaged now. I think more realistically it is going to be Haflidason would be the one I go for. Good position to restart from down on the inside here. Just think he's got a little bit more speed than Arvidsson, although Pustinen's very quick as well, to be fair. So he could be a shout. Finished second in their series most recently, so we know his oval credentials. But no, I'll go for Haflidason starting down on the inside on the second row.
I wouldn't be surprised if the 81 there on the inside of the second row can do it as well. He's been very aggressive, almost too aggressive at times with that half spin about 10 laps ago. But the pace truck is going to come in. And is this going to be the final restart of the day? The 24 in the green machine for Sweden is going to get this chance, at least, for a race victory. Can he complete it? A good start, though, as the 81 loves that. He's going to be able to get past into second place. Pustinen a little bit left out to dry in third place now as you go back to green flag racing. Just a handful of laps to go here. Finland versus Sweden here on RaceSpotTV. And it is Finland looking good to win overall, but Sweden leading the way.
Yeah, and they're probably in the best position here to take the win overall, though Fredriksson's getting passed here by Jukka Leskala, who might have another chance to maybe win this race here. Down the inside into fourth place for the triple four. Round the outside for Fredriksson. Could give him that back by the line again. We've only got 4 laps to go, though, and sort out this race winner.
And it is getting feisty in behind. Leskala there looking to get up inside the top 4, but the 12 of Fredriksson is still looking strong. The 81 gets a bit of a run. Don't spin your countryman in the background. We do get a spin though, and goes around Salmon with just a few laps to go. He needs to be careful to not bring out a caution, but we do remain under green flag conditions as the 24 still leads the way.
He needs to continue on as well, ideally without going back to the pit lane, because otherwise a lot of Swedish drivers will overtake him and that will reduce their margin. The gap has certainly come down to just 110 now, and even below that, but Sweden have got an almighty, all manner of turnaround to do here. I mean, I can't see it happening, but you just never know. You can never say never. The battle is really for the win here between Arvidsson and Haflidason with 2.5 laps or 3.5 laps to go.
Pustinen, though, is looking very strong, I believe, in that third place as it stands. The triple four Leskala around the outside of the 12. The outside line has been looking very good as we're now getting some moving all over the place. From the 24 comes out with 3 laps to go, and that is going to be an interesting one indeed, because we're going to be getting just basically a sprint to the finish now. Here's Fagerl, involved with one of the cautions previously in the 4 machine. Got Lundberg to the outside. The 496 just goes a little bit high, gets into Lundberg, and then once the pressure is on that rear right of the car, can't turn left anymore as the car's trying to spin the other way.
Yeah, it was Sweden on Sweden there. 2 drivers 2 laps down, fighting over those positions. And unfortunately, it's brought out the caution again. So we are going to see green-white checkers activated, if you like. And we'll get 2 goes at it. But as I say, we will not be constrained by the time limit of this race. We will get to see both of those green-white checkers play out, if indeed we need them.
Yes, this is going to be a fun one to try and hold on, because these restarts always seem to be very difficult. It's very slow, and the drivers can't seem to put the power down. So we need to be looking at Eracingligan there to try and get away from the race lead. So it's Eracingligan and Havlissen on the front row for Sweden. Then we've got Bohlin and Svenska for Finland on the second row. Fredriksson's still got half a shout there in behind, and then there's 4 Finnish drivers. So it's still looking good for Finland to try and grab a win, but can they overtake 2 Swedish drivers? I think it's actually a shame for Havlissen that he's going to be in that second place rather than third, because third place worked really well for him on that previous restart.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that they are making some inroads. There are a couple of Finnish drivers, by the way, on pit lane here under this caution, although it is for damage repair almost exclusively here. By the way, even though we didn't reach the final 2 laps of the race, we do still have the green white checker activated, because this caution period would have taken us past the allotted 134 laps. So we are going to see the first green white checker start right now, hence why it's not going down from 3 laps to go.
Absolutely. So as you say, we are in that situation. Green white checker, so there's going to be a 2-lap dash to the end when we get going, and that's going to be a bit of a tough one, because when we got onto that final lap as well, if cautions come out, then that's going to end everything, and whoever's leading is going to be winning the race. Sweden are back down to about 100 points though, Ewan. Not enough to overcome realistically in 2 laps, but that's not bad from where they were at 1 point, 200. They did get back to even, and even just going over and leading for a little bit. So for the deficit that they had in the first half of the race, I think they should be pretty proud of how they come back.
Exactly, yeah, and the fact that we had that moment as well where the gap was just ticking down and down and down slowly, but it was getting there, and eventually they did take the lead. It was single digits. It was really a tight race at that stage, but the fact that they got it to that stage even it is a really great marker for them. I think the thing that they might be feeling after this race, though, is the fact that was the only time that they really got anywhere near on strategy. That is, when they were riding around on sort of normal speed with everybody on the same strategy, Sweden have felt it a little bit of a struggle, to be honest, and that's even without the champion from the Finnish league even here today. So you just imagine what it would have been like otherwise. So it's maybe discouraging in that sense, but for them to have fought back in that way, I'm sure they'll all be pleased.
Oh, definitely. It's a tough situation when you're that far down, but you just have to keep going, keep trying to get the overtakes, and that is looks like the situation that we are in with their comeback that they are doing. And to be honest, I think they're going to more care about who wins the race as well, and it is looking like we're going back to double file conditions. 24 versus the 81, then the 995 and the 444 in behind. It is literally Sweden versus Finland, 2x2 on the front 2 rows. And Ewan, I have to ask, green white checker, who is winning in a couple of laps time?
Well, I'm still going to go for Havlissen, because I said that previous to the last caution going back green again, so I'm going to stick with that. It's going to be difficult on the outside, though. The driver in third place often has the best chance of winning, other than the actual leader, I find, because they're already down on the inside where you kind of want to be. You get to sort of predict when the leader goes and sort of go with them, if you like. So the driver in third place does always have a good time of things, but we'll see if Bohlin does it.
Yes, he's got a good chance, because Havlissen was third on the previous restart, and the reason why he's ahead now is because Bohlin wasn't able to get a good run. Pace truck comes in. Green, white checker time is out. It is Finland versus Sweden, and the 24 gets us back under green flag racing here at Atlanta. And it wasn't a good run for the 81. Bohlin is going to be coming through into that second place position. So third really isn't the place you want to be on the restart. But look at the lead for the 24 as they come and chase them down. And it will be coming up towards the white flag with just 6 corners remaining. A little bit of wiggling around from everyone in behind as they try and work their way through. Svenska making up some positions in P4.
Yeah, it's looking good for Eracingligan here, who's made a very good restart. Bohlin fighting for second place at the moment with Michael Havlissen, but it's going to be white flag then. Final lap of the race. slightly extended one with the green-white checker that we've seen here tonight, but it looking like Alexander Arvidsson's going to hang on for the win as an individual.
Well, we will see. In behind, there's contact in the wall. I think they managed to hold it, though, as they go down in towards the apron and in towards the final couple of corners. Arvidsson's got a big lead here. Can he be caught as we come out of turns 3 and 4? Puustinen is chasing him down. It's going to be Finland winning overall, but on the track, it is going to be the 24 of Alex Arvidsson who wins the race for Sweden as Finland win overall by 100 points in the end. Across the line, they come for a green-white checkered finish, and what a great strategy there from the 24 as well, saving his new tyres for the perfect opportunity to strike halfway through in the race, and then was able to hold on to it at the end with all of the cautions that we had late in the race. Puustinen gave it his best effort, but he managed to just get second from Haflidsson, who was unable to get a good restart at the end. It was a 100-point difference between the two, but Sweden did lead momentarily in the middle part of the race. However, Finland, they had the control all evening.
Yeah, they did. They lost the lead for a brief moment, but won it back when it mattered. And in the end, the gap is going to look rather large compared to how the race has really gone. Puustinen, the best placed Finnish driver, will be celebrating, but as an individual, Arvidsson will be very pleased with how that race turned out, saving the tyres back for an ideal time to use them, utilising them in the best possible way as well to get that track position, which he was able to hang on from there to the end.
And I do like it in some ways that it was, one country winning the race, one country winning the points as well. Nice to split it up, because at the end of the day, this is a good bit of fun between the two leagues. And just showing that both leagues are very competitive indeed, and very high level. Overall, Finland, they did just seem to have that edge. They had the bulk of the drives up towards the front, and look at the swarm of them coming through on the cooldown lap as they celebrate together, I'm sure. And that was a very entertaining race, Ewan. Actually, the strategy kept us on our toes. There was no stages, there was no bonus points, nothing like that, but we still had a very eventful race.
We certainly did, and there you can see the Finnish drivers all celebrating. A great evening for them. Weathered the storm very much of a real Swedish fight back. In the end, they were able to hang on, and Finland take the events overall thoroughly deserved on their side. Maybe this can be run again in the future, and we can see whether they can repeat, if you like, because there was one stage, as we say, that where they really looked in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, it was coming around very nicely for the Swedes at one point. This is such an awesome shot. All of the same livery as well. That was a nice touch. We might have all the different chassis there, but they come to a stop on the checker across the stripe here at Atlanta, and they'll start doing some burnouts, I am sure, just taking it all in. And what an event, what an idea this was, with both the championships finishing recently, to have a bit of fun in their off-season, and to continue on with the fun as we get into the end of May here, 2024, as the donuts for sure are being eaten. But it may have been Finland overall on the points, but on the track it was Arvidsson in the 24 winning in the end, Puustinen in behind. Then it was Haflidsson and Fredriksson for a 1, 3 and 4 for Sweden at the front of the field. Then it was Eskalainen and Etupalta in the top 6, then Parviainen in P7, Holmer, Järvelainen, and then Terho inside your top 10. Then we still had, you can see all of these Finnish drivers really up towards the front. This is where their points gain was. Just 3 Swedish drivers on the next page. Leskala was leading for a long time. Räisänen, Solo, Korpi, Gunnarsson, he had a back of line on one of the restarts, but he ends up in P15. Nukarainen, Haga, Vicky. Ericsson, who had an eventful day, ended up P19, then Räisänen in P20. And the fastest that was actually from Erik Blixt on lap 119. Then Honkanen, Johansson, Katila, he was also on that alternate strategy, didn't make it work in the end, P23. Brustrom, Kokkola, Ullman, Fredriksson, Lundberg, Uvanen, Fagrel, a few drivers here, obviously many laps down, involved in some of the contacts, and there's the rest of the drivers, including Blixt and Toika, of course, who were up towards the front for a long time, leading the way in a 1-2 battle. They end up P34-35. And there is your 40 drivers for Finland versus Sweden. And we'll try and actually get a word with some of these drivers. We'll get them into the commentary booth and just see what they are talking about. So we'll first bring in your race winner, Eracingligan there in the number 24, the green machine. And Alex, not an easy race for you in the end. We'll start with that final restart. Just how was the nerves coming to a green-white checker finish?
Well, the final restart was okay, knowing it was only 2 laps, and I was bound to get a decent restart and pull a bit of a gap. The restart before that was more sketchy when we had more laps left to run. And I have to apologize to Michael in the 81 car, because looking at the replay, it looks like I came down a bit on him and got him loose and made him lose some time. But it's hard racing, but that was my fault.
And just how was it in that middle part of the race? You were on that different strategy. You then came out on fresh tyres. You're in about P25. And then 10 laps later, you were leading. So how good fun was it going through with those fresher tyres and just basically driving around people?
Yeah, that was pretty fun. You feel like Superman for a few laps on new tyres compared to the guys in old tyres. But I felt like I wouldn't be able to win most likely if I stayed in the same strategy as everyone else. So I stayed out to my old tires at the first yellow, and I was almost about to go 2 laps down when I pitted on the green, but I narrowly avoided that. And then the next caution came out within 3 laps, so I was on almost equal tires as the rest when we restarted next, which helped me.
How did you enjoy this type of event? Because it's quite a bit different, really. Michael was, of course, a big rival for you in the Svenska Eracingligan. But now you are kind of teammates tonight. Were you thinking about that at all, or were you just going for the race win?
Well, in the first part of the race, obviously I was thinking about that and giving my Swedish teammates a bit more room on the track, But late in the race, you're just going for the win, and I think Michael was the same, and everyone else was probably as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly an interesting one. But you came out on top on the road, so congratulations. With your alternate strategy, you managed to take the win. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Right. Next, we'll bring in Otto Pustinen as he comes in towards the commentary booth. So firstly, welcome in the 995 machine. So second place in the end, it was for you. Just how was your race there in that final restart especially?
Well, yeah, it was pretty fun and interesting race. It's fun to see that there are different strategies that come together in the end of the race, and you never really knew which strategy would be the best at the end. And at some point it looked pretty dire for Team Finland, because we were just waiting for the last caution that eventually came. And very fun race and interesting end.
Yeah, so were you always playing the long game? Because in that first stint especially, you were sort of P6, P7 for a long time. You were just sat on the back of that group. Were you always waiting for something to happen later on, basically keeping it safe?
Well, pretty much, yeah. I don't think that there's much reason to, be very aggressive at the start, because, it's a long race. And, pretty much I was playing for the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. But then at the end, we had a couple of restarts. On the first one, you were second place. You went down to third, because it actually seemed like second place was the worst place to be. But then we get to the final restart, and you were in third place. So it was actually probably a good thing that Michael got you on that previous restart.
Yeah, it seems so. I was pretty surprised that Michael got so bad restart, because I was thinking that since they're in the same thing, they are, calculating the restart, but maybe they were, racing against each other for the win of the race, and I think I got the second place because of that, because it's a bit easier to start in P3, just behind the leader, in my opinion at least.
Absolutely. And lastly, how does it feel to be part of the winning team? That was some nice pictures at the end doing that slow cooldown lap. Must be good to win an event like this for your country.
Yeah, definitely. It was a nice victory, and always fun to race against Sweden, and even more funnier is to win them in the race. And yeah, I'm lucky to be the guy on the podium, and well, pretty good driving for the 2 Swedes that are on the podium as well with me. But yeah, in the end, I guess we had a more cohesive team, and yeah, like that top 20, I don't know, we were pretty much overwhelming in numbers.
Yeah, you did a great job today. So congratulations on P2 and also winning as a team. Well done.
Yep, thank you.
And then lastly, on the podium, we'll bring in Michael Haflidsson in the 81 machine. You definitely had to work for that one today. Not necessarily the best qualifying. You got yourself up inside the top 10. But then firstly, I've got to talk about that big moment. You're fighting for the lead, not too long left in the race. And then there's contact between you and the 24, and you almost spun it, but a great save. How was that from your side?
It was a shame. I think I had a pace for sure. Not in the qualifying, obviously. I have never driven the car, so I have no clue on what to do. But yeah, got into it mid-race and was really feeling comfortable on the long runs. Managed to save my tires really well compared to the other guys. So towards the end of the stints, I obviously had a lot more tire left to use. And then obviously in the end, it's a bit of a shame. Alexander came down an entire lane on me and just almost turned me. Luckily I saved it, and we didn't have a caution on that. Still had pretty strong tires, and then I just never got the chance to fight for it again, really.
Yeah, on the previous restart, the penultimate one, I should say, you were in 3rd place and you were able to jump Otto there. But then obviously then you were on the outside line. Was it sort of worse to be on that outside line, or did you just have a bad start anyway on that final restart?
Nah, I just had a bad start. I floored it and just spun tires in 2nd and 3rd gear. That was my own mistake, and then just tried to keep it in 3rd into the corner and not lose too many positions, then being side by side with Otto. Obviously last lap you're going to fight harder, so not too much room. It is what it is. I mean, he fought brilliantly, and congrats to Otto for 2nd place, obviously. But yeah, it's just my own mistake in the last restart there.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's still a great result for you. So congratulations on your 3rd place. And yeah, we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
I hope so. See ya.
And of course, the last person that we have to speak to is Mr. Linus Broström, main admin over at Svenska Eracingligan and main organizer for the event tonight. Linus, how was that from your side? You were in the steward's room today, a few little incidents for you to look at, but that must have been a pretty successful event, you can say. Oh, is Linus gone? I think Linus is gone.
I had my mic turned off.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. That's my mistake. Yeah, it's. I wish it would have been a little bit closer. We got really tighter at one point towards the end, but I think that little incident at back at the very start didn't help the Swedes. But overall, I think the event went really well. Didn't have too many cautions. Had some good fights up front, and got a lot of different strategies throughout the race, which is what you want. Especially when you limit the tire sets like we did for this race, only giving them 4 tire sets. And this car on this track always brings out good racing, so I'm happy that it ended out going pretty well.
Yeah, so it was a great idea. And I guess from your side, any news of new things on the horizon for your league?
Not yet. We're still working on some things behind the scenes. But let's say that today's race in this car was a test for what might be happening in the future. We still obviously have the whole community to decide on that, because we want everyone to be part in those big decisions. It's not just me, it's all the drivers. So everyone's still going to get their say on that. And yeah, I don't know, but we might be back on RaceSpotTV in 3 months. I don't really know.
Well, we look forward to it. So thank you for all your work this season, Linus, and for the event tonight. And yeah,
big shout out to the Finns as well. Yeah,
exactly. They'll have to congratulate the Finns who came out swinging. And Ewan, that was the there it is, the Finnish flag, and that was Finland versus Sweden. Just how did you find that? Final thoughts?
Yeah, very enjoyable. I thoroughly enjoyed that event, I've got to say. It was so interesting to see the way the gap fluctuated, and at one stage Sweden even getting their noses ahead, but in the end Finland taking the win in an overall thoroughly enjoyable event in what I would like to say is the better configuration of Atlanta. Look at the racing we could have these days, but no. So we've got plate racing instead here, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it, and can't wait for the next one.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun when we return, I'm sure, here on RaceSpotTV. Tonight it was myself, Cameron Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me in the commentary booth, and then Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast for Finland versus Sweden. Sweden won on the road, Finland on the overall points. Just how will we look when we get racing once more in a few months' time? We thank you for watching, and we wish you a very warm goodbye.